The cargo bay smelled like rust and old oil. Taeyong Kim pulled his jacket tighter as he walked through the lower docks of Haven's rest station. The lights flickered above him, casting strange shadows on the metal walls. He checked his datapad again. Bay 47. He was looking for Bay 47. His boots made soft sounds on the floor as he walked past stacks of containers. Some were marked with symbols he recognized. Others had writing from alien worlds he had never visited. Taeyong had been a cargo pilot for 8 years now. He knew these docks well. But today something felt different. Wrong. Maybe. He heard it then. A small sound, like crying, but not quite human. Taeyong stopped walking and listened. There it was again, coming from behind a stack of containers marked with red warning labels. Taeyong moved slowly toward the sound. His hand went to the small plasma cutter on his belt. Not a weapon. Not really, but it made him feel safer. The docks could be dangerous. Smugglers and thieves liked the lower levels where security cameras didn't work so well. He rounded the corner and froze. Between two containers, pressed against a cold metal wall, was a small creature. A child, he realized, but not human, not any species he had ever seen before. The child had scales that caught the dim light and reflected it back in colors that shifted between blue and green and purple. Small horns grew from her head, barely longer than his thumb. Wings folded against her back, too small and weak to carry her anywhere. She was tiny, maybe the size of a 6-year-old human child. Blood dried on her arms where the scales were cracked. Her large eyes, golden and afraid, stared at him. She made that sound again. A whimper, a cry for help in a language Taeyong didn't understand. He held up his hands slowly, palms out. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The child pressed harder against the wall. She tried to make herself smaller. Her wings trembled. Taeyong looked around. No one else was nearby. The docks were quiet during second shift. Most workers were eating or sleeping. He looked back at the child and saw the tags attached to her small wrist. Cargo tags. The kind used for shipping goods across the galaxy. His stomach turned. Someone had been smuggling her, treating her like a thing, not a person. He crouched down slowly, making himself less tall, less scary. He stayed several feet away. "It's okay," he said again. "I have a daughter too. Her name is Daeun. She's about your size." The child didn't understand his words, but something in his voice made her stop shaking so much. Her golden eyes watched him carefully. Taeyong thought about Daeun waiting for him back in their small quarters. His little girl with her bright smile and messy hair. She would be doing her homework now, or playing with the old toy spaceship he had found for her birthday. What if someone had hurt Daeun? What if someone had put cargo tags on her wrist and locked her in a container? The thought made him feel sick and angry at the same time. He slowly reached into his jacket pocket. The child flinched. Taeyong moved even slower, pulling out a small bottle of water and a protein bar. "Are you hungry?" he asked. He held them out to her. The child stared at the food. Her small tongue, dark and forked like a snake's, touched her lips. She was hungry, very hungry. Taeyong could tell. He set the water and protein bar on the floor, then moved back a few steps. "It's okay. Take it. It's for you." The child watched him for a long moment. Then, moving fast like a scared animal, she grabbed the food and pressed back against the wall. She tore open the protein bar with sharp teeth and ate quickly, barely chewing. She drank the water so fast it spilled down her chin and onto her chest. Taeyong felt his heart break a little. How long had she been alone and hungry? He started humming. It was the same song he hummed to Daeun when she had nightmares. A simple melody his own mother had sung to him when he was small. The words were about stars and home and safety. The child stopped eating. She tilted her head, listening. Taeyong kept humming, kept the tune soft and gentle. Slowly, very slowly, the child's breathing became calmer. Her wings stopped trembling. She finished the protein bar and held the empty water bottle in her small hands. "That's better," Taeyong said quietly. "See? Everything is okay now." That's when he heard the footsteps. Heavy boots. Multiple people. Taeyong stood up as 3 station security guards rounded the corner. They wore black armor and carried shock rifles. "Step away from the cargo," the first guard said. He was a tall man with gray hair and a scar across his nose. His name tag said Morrison. "She's not cargo," Taeyong said. "She's a child." Morrison looked at the child, then at his datapad. "We got a report about stolen property. A smuggler's ship left in a hurry, left behind some goods. That creature has cargo tags. That makes it property." "She has a name," Taeyong said, even though he didn't know what that name was yet. "And she's a person. Look at her. She's scared and hurt." The second guard, a woman with short red hair, moved toward the child. The little creature made a sound of fear and tried to run. The guard grabbed her arm. The child screamed, a high-pitched sound that hurt Taeyong's ears. Without thinking, Taeyong stepped between them. "Don't touch her." Morrison put his hand on his shock rifle. "Sir, step aside. This is station business." "Then treat her like a person," Taeyong said. His voice was firm. "Not like lost luggage. She needs medical care. She needs protection. Look at her. Someone hurt her." The red-haired guard looked uncomfortable. She let go of the child's arm. His right, Morrison. "She's clearly sentient. The law says we can't treat sentient beings as cargo." Morrison frowned. "We don't know what species she is. There's no record of her. That makes her unregistered. Unregistered means impound until we figure out what to do with her." "No," Taeyong said. "She's not going to an impound bay. Those places are cold and empty. She's coming with me." Morrison laughed. "You can't just take her. There are procedures, forms, legal processes." "Then start the process," Taeyong said. "I'll post bond for her. Temporary custody. Whatever it takes. But she's not spending one more minute alone and afraid." The guards looked at each other. The red-haired guard shrugged. "We could do that. It's unusual, but legal." Morrison sighed. "Fine, but it's going to cost you. And if we find her people, she goes back to them. Understand?" "Understood," Taeyong said. He looked down at the child. She was watching him with those golden eyes. Something in her expression had changed. Not quite trust, but maybe hope. 2 hours later, Taeyong walked through the door of his quarters with a child following behind him. Daeun looked up from her homework and gasped. "Papa, you brought home a dragon." Taeyong smiled tiredly. "I brought home your new sister. Her name is Hannah." The child, Hannah, looked at Daeun, and for the first time since he found her, Taeyong saw her smile. 6 months had passed since Taeyong brought Hannah home. The small quarters that once felt empty now felt full of life. Every morning, he woke up to the sound of 2 girls laughing in the kitchen area. Daeun teaching Hannah new words. Hannah showing Daeun how her scales changed color when she was happy. Taeyong stood in the doorway and watched them. Hannah sat at the small table, her wings tucked neatly against her back. She was speaking in broken Galactic Common now, mixing words together in ways that made Daeun giggle. "This is spoon." Hannah held up a fork. "No, silly, that's a fork. This is a spoon." Daeun showed her the right utensil. Hannah's scale shifted from blue to pink, the color she turned when she was embarrassed. Fork, spoon, too many words for eating things. Taeyong smiled and walked into the kitchen. "Good morning, my dragons." Both girls jumped up and hugged him. It still amazed him how quickly Hannah had become part of their family, how quickly Daeun had accepted her as a sister. But the happiness came with worries. Big worries that kept Taeyong awake at night. The Galactic Council had searched every database in known space. No records existed of Hannah's species. No planet claimed her. No government knew where she came from. She was completely alone in the universe, except for them. And that made her valuable. Dangerous. Unknown. Taeyong poured coffee and looked at his bank account on his datapad. The numbers were red. Very red. Feeding 3 people instead of 2 had drained his savings. The temporary custody bond had taken most of what he had left. Now he was taking jobs he would have refused before. Dangerous routes through disputed territories where pirates like to hunt cargo ships. His brother Dawn Minute's face appeared on his comm screen later that day. Dawn Minute lived on Earth, working as an engineer in Seoul. He had a nice apartment and a safe job. Everything Taeyong didn't have. "You look tired," Dawn Minute said. "I am tired," Taeyong admitted. He was sitting in his ship's cockpit, waiting for clearance to depart. Another cargo run to the border systems. Another week away from his daughters. I heard you're taking runs to the Kresh sector now. Brother, that's pirate territory. The pay is good. The pay won't matter if you're dead. Dom Minut's face showed real concern. This is about the alien child, isn't it? The one you took in. Her name is Hannah, and she's not just an alien child. She's my daughter. Dong Minute sighed. I know you care about her. But Taeyong, think about this carefully. You don't know what she is. What if she's dangerous? What if keeping her puts Daeun at risk? She's not dangerous. She's a scared kid who needed help. Today she's a scared kid. Tomorrow? Next year? You don't know how her species grows. You don't know what abilities she might develop. Dong Minute leaned closer to his camera. I'm saying this because I love you. Maybe you should let the council take her. They have resources. Scientists who can care for her properly. She doesn't need scientists. She needs a family. And Daeun needs a father who doesn't get killed flying through pirate zones. The conversation ended badly. Taeyong flew his route angry, his hands tight on the controls. But deep down, he knew his brother was right about one thing. The money wouldn't last forever. 3 weeks later, everything changed. Daeun got sick. It started as a cough, then a fever. By the second day, she couldn't get out of bed. The station doctor diagnosed her with Rigel flu, a virus that spread through space stations every few years. Usually, it wasn't serious. Usually, medicine worked quickly, but the medical supplies were delayed. A transport ship had problems. The medicine wouldn't arrive for 3 more days. Taeyong sat by Daeun's bed, putting cool cloths on her burning forehead. His little girl's face was red and sweaty. She mumbled in her sleep, words that made no sense. Hannah stood in the doorway, her scales dark gray with worry. Daeun okay? She will be, Taeyong said, but he wasn't sure. The fever was getting worse. That night, Taeyong fell asleep in the chair next to Daeun's bed. He woke to a soft glow filling the room. He opened his eyes and saw something impossible. Hannah stood next to the bed, her small hands pressed against Daeun's chest. Light came from her palms, warm and golden. It flowed into Daeun's body like water flowing into a cup. The scales on Hannah's arms glowed with the same light. Hannah, what are you doing? Hannah didn't answer. Her eyes were closed. Her face showed deep concentration. The light grew brighter, filling the room with warmth. Then it stopped. Hannah pulled her hands back and stumbled. Taeyong caught her before she fell. The small girl felt cold, her scales dull and gray. Hannah, are you okay? Tired, Hannah whispered. Very tired. Taeyong looked at Daeun. His daughter's face was no longer red. She breathed easily, peacefully. He touched her forehead. Cool. The fever was gone. Completely gone. What did you do? He asked Hannah. Made her better. Like pulling the bad things out and putting good things in. Hannah's eyes closed. She fell asleep in his arms. Taeyong sat there for a long time, holding the alien child, watching his human daughter sleep peacefully. Whatever Hannah was, wherever she came from, she had powers beyond anything he understood. The next morning, the station doctor examined Daeun and found nothing wrong. The virus was completely gone from her system. Impossible, the doctor said, but true. He asked questions Taeyong didn't answer. That afternoon, a woman in an expensive suit arrived at his quarters. She had short black hair and sharp eyes. Her identification card said Ambassador G1 Park, Galactic Council. May I come in? She asked, but she walked in before he could answer. Taeyong stood between her and the room where both girls were playing. What do you want? I've heard interesting reports about your ward. The alien child you've taken custody of. G1 looked around the small quarters. Where is she? Why do you want to know? The council is concerned. An unknown species with unknown abilities living on a public station. You must understand our position, Mr. Kim. Your position? What about her position? She's a child who was being smuggled like cargo. G1 smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. A child who apparently can cure diseases with touch. That's not a normal child, Mr. Kim. That's a potential weapon. Or a potential threat. Either way, she needs proper study and protection. She has protection. She has me. You're a cargo pilot barely making ends meet. You take dangerous jobs in dangerous sectors. You live in quarters barely big enough for 2 people, let alone 3. G1 walked closer. The Council can offer her safety. Scientists and doctors who can understand her abilities. A proper education. Everything a growing child needs. Everything except a family. Mr. Kim, be reasonable. This isn't about what you want. It's about what's best for the child and for galactic security. Get out. G1's smile disappeared. I'm trying to be polite, but the Council can take her if necessary. We have legal authority in cases of unknown, potentially dangerous entities. She's not an entity. She's a little girl named Hannah, and you're not taking her anywhere. The ambassador left, but her final word stayed with Taeyong like a cold wind. This isn't over. Think about your daughters, Mr. Kim. Both of them. Think about what's really best. That night, Taeyong couldn't sleep. He checked his bank account again. The numbers were worse than ever. He had enough for maybe 2 more months. Maybe 3 if he took the most dangerous jobs available. He looked at the message from Dong Minute. His brother had sent information about a good school on Earth. A place where Daeun could study and be safe. Far from pirates and station politics and galactic councils. All it would take was money. Money Taeyong didn't have. Unless he accepted the council's offer. They would pay him well for Hannah. Enough to give Daeun everything she needed. He heard a sound and turned. Daeun stood in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Papa, why are you sad? I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking. Daeun climbed into his lap. She was getting too big for this, but Taeyong held her anyway. Is it about Hannah? About that mean lady who came today? You heard that? Hannah and I both heard. We were listening at the door. Daeun looked up at him with serious eyes. Papa, Hannah is my sister. We don't leave family behind. Mom always said that. Family stays together. Taeyong felt tears in his eyes. He hugged his daughter tight. You're right. Your mom did always say that. The choice was made. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The job offer came at the perfect time. Dr. Hyun-Woo Choi needed a cargo pilot willing to fly to Endara Prime, a planet at the galaxy's core. The pay was excellent, enough to solve Taeyong's money problems for at least 6 months. There was only one problem. The flight would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks away from the station. 3 weeks where Ambassador Park couldn't reach them or file more legal papers demanding custody of Hannah. Taeyong made his decision quickly. He would take both girls with him. His ship had enough space. The journey would be long, but they would be together and safe. Daeun was excited. A real adventure, Papa, like in the stories. Hannah was nervous. She had never left the station since Taeyong found her. Her scales kept shifting colors, blue to purple to gray. Space is big, very big. Don't worry. Daeun held her hand. Papa is the best pilot in the whole galaxy. We'll be safe. The journey to Endara Prime took 2 weeks through jump gates and empty space. Taeyong taught both girls how to read star charts. They played games in the cargo hold and ate meals together in the small galley. For those 2 weeks, they were just a normal family on a trip. Endara Prime appeared on their screens like a red jewel against black space. The planet was old, very old. Its surface was covered in rust-colored deserts and ancient mountains. No one lived there anymore. Not for millions of years. They landed at a small research camp near the excavation site. Dr. Hyun-Woo Choi met them at the landing pad. He was a thin man with gray hair and excited eyes. He wore dusty clothes and carried a data pad covered in notes. Mr. Kim, thank you for coming. We've been waiting weeks for these supplies. He noticed the 2 girls climbing out of the ship behind Taeyong. You brought your family. I hope that's not a problem. No problem at all. Just unusual. Hyun-Woo smiled at the girls. Welcome to Endara Prime, young ladies. We're discovering amazing things here. What kind of things? Daeun asked. The oldest ruins in the known galaxy. We think a civilization lived here before any of the species we know today even existed. Come, I'll show you. While workers unloaded the cargo, Hyun-woo took them on a tour of the excavation site. They walked through valleys carved between massive stone structures, buildings that reached toward the sky like frozen giants. Everything was covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. These ruins are at least 5 million years old, Hyun-woo explained. Maybe older. We call the builders the first civilization. We don't know what they looked like or where they went, but they left these structures all across the galaxy. Hannah walked close to one of the walls. She reached out her small hand and touched the glowing symbols. The light grew brighter under her fingers. Hannah, don't touch, Taeyong started to say, but Hyun-woo stopped him. Wait, look. The symbols under Hannah's hand were rearranging themselves, changing. They formed new patterns that spread across the wall like ripples in water. Fascinating, Hyun-woo whispered. The ruins have never responded to any of us. What is she? She's my daughter, Taeyong said firmly. They spent the afternoon exploring. Hyun-woo showed them different excavation sites. Each one revealed more mysteries. Stone tablets with unknown writing, devices that no longer worked, empty chambers that once held something important. The next day, Hyun-woo invited them to see a newly opened chamber. We broke through the seal yesterday. No one has been inside for millions of years. Would you like to see? They descended into the earth through a tunnel carved in smooth stone. The air was cool and smelled ancient. Their lights bounced off walls covered in more symbols. Deeper and deeper they went, until they entered a massive chamber. Taeyong stopped breathing. The walls were covered in murals. Not paintings, but something that glowed with inner light. Images of creatures and stars and battles. A history written in pictures that filled every surface from floor to ceiling. We're still translating everything, Hyun-woo said. His voice echoed in the huge space. But these murals tell the story of the galaxy. Look here. He pointed his light at one wall. The mural showed different species. Some Taeyong recognized. Humans, young and small. Other species he knew from the Galactic Council. But they were all tiny in the picture, like children being watched over by tall figures. These tall beings appear throughout the murals, Hyun-woo explained. We think they were the first civilization. They seemed to guide younger species, teaching them, protecting them. They moved deeper into the chamber. More murals showed great ships traveling between stars, cities being built, knowledge being shared. Then something dark appeared in the pictures, something from beyond the galaxy that brought destruction. Daeun held Taeyong's hand tighter. Papa, what is that? I don't know, sweetheart. Hyun-woo studied the dark images. We call it the Devourer. It appears in murals on other first civilization sites too. Something that destroys galaxies. Something that comes in cycles. They walked along the wall, following the story. The mural showed the first civilization fighting the Devourer, creating weapons, building defenses, and then creating something new. Look at this section, Hyun-woo said. His light illuminated a mural showing the tall beings working on something, creating new life. We think they made guardian species, beings designed to protect the younger races when the Devourer returned. The mural showed these new beings clearly. They had scales that caught light, wings that spread wide, horns that curved from their heads. They stood between the younger species and the darkness, protecting them. Taeyong's heart started beating faster. Those beings, what are they? We don't know. They appear in several murals, but we've never found any evidence they actually existed. They might just be symbolic, a myth about protectors who... Hyun-woo stopped talking. He was looking at Hannah, really looking at her for the first time. At her scales, her small wings, her horns. Oh my stars, he whispered. Hannah walked toward the mural as if pulled by invisible strings. She reached up and touched the image of the winged beings. The light under her fingers grew brighter and brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, the mural had changed. More details appeared. The image focused on one specific being, a small one, a child. Her markings were identical to Hannah's. The pattern of scales on her arms, the shape of her horns, everything matched perfectly. Below the image, symbols rearranged themselves into words everyone could read. as if the ancient war was translating itself for them. She will awaken when the cycle turns. Tai Yang read aloud. To guide the youngest children of the stars through the coming darkness. It's a prophecy, Hyun Woo said. His hands shook as he recorded everything with his datapad. A 5 million-year-old prophecy. About her. He pointed at Hannah. Hannah touched the image of herself on the wall. I remember, she said softly. Not everything, but some. I was sleeping, waiting. Then I woke up scared and alone in the dark place. Until... She looked at Taeyong. Until you found me. Your people. Taeyong knelt beside her. Are there more of you? Where are they? Sleeping. Waiting. Like I was. Until it's time. Time for what? Hannah pointed at the dark images on the wall. The Devourer. Time for that. It comes again. Soon. Hyun Woo was frantically taking notes and pictures. This is incredible. This changes everything we know about galactic history. The Council needs to know. Scientists need to study this. We need to. We need to leave, Taeyong said. Right now. What? But we just discovered. And as soon as you report this, everyone will know about Hannah. About what she is. Every government, every military, every group that wants power will come for her. Taeyong picked up Hannah. We're leaving. Tonight. They ran through the tunnels back to the surface. Behind them, Taeyong could hear Hyun Woo calling out, try and convince them to stay. But Taeyong didn't stop. He had to protect his daughters. Both of them. They reached the landing pad and started loading the ship. Daeun helped, moving faster than she ever had before. Hannah sat quietly, her scales dark with worry. Papa, where will we go? Daeun asked. I don't know yet. Somewhere safe. Somewhere far away. But even as he said it, Taeyong knew the truth. There was nowhere in the galaxy far enough. Not anymore. Not after what they had discovered in that ancient chamber. The ship's engines roared to life. As they lifted off from Endara Prime, Taeyong looked back at the red planet. Down there, in those ancient ruins, was proof that his adopted daughter was part of something bigger than any of them understood. Something that would change the galaxy forever. The news spread faster than Taeyong expected. 3 days after they left Endara Prime, every information network in the galaxy was talking about the discovery. Ancient prophecy found. Unknown species identified. Child who matches 5 million-year-old murals. Dr. Hyun Woo had reported everything to the Galactic Council. Pictures of Hannah standing next to the mural were everywhere. Her face was on every screen in every station and every planet. Taeyong sat in his ship's cockpit, watching the news reports with growing fear. Daeun and Hannah were sleeping in the back. They didn't know yet how bad things had become. His comm system beeped. A message from his brother Dongminute. Taeyong, what have you done? The whole galaxy is looking for you. The Council has issued a priority search. They are calling Hannah a galactic treasure. They want her brought in for protection and study. Dongminute's face on the screen looked worried and angry. Brother, you need to turn yourself in. Before this gets worse. Taeyong deleted the message without responding. He couldn't go back. Not now. Another message came through. This one from Ambassador Ji-won Park. Mr. Kim, you're making a terrible mistake. The child needs proper care and protection. Forces are moving that you don't understand. Dangerous forces. Return to Haven's rest station immediately, and I promise the Council will treat you and your daughters fairly. Taeyong didn't believe her. He had seen how governments treated things they wanted to control, how they locked away anything they didn't understand. He set course for the Outer Rim. Maybe they could hide in the frontier colonies, places where Council authority was weak and people asked fewer questions. But 2 days later, everything changed. Taeyong woke to alarms screaming through his ship. 3 vessels had appeared on his sensors. Big military ships. Their weapons were armed and ready. Attention, unidentified cargo vessel. A voice crackled over the comm. This is Captain Lee Sung-minute of the KRWN Empire. You are carrying property of significant value. Surrender the alien child and we will let you live. The KRWN Empire. Taeyong's blood went cold. The KRWN were insect-like beings who believed in taking what they wanted through force. They had no respect for other species. No concept of mercy. Papa, Daeun appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. What's happening? Get Hannah. Both of you go to the emergency pod. Now. But. Now. Daeun. His daughter ran. Taeyong pushed his ship's engines to maximum. But cargo ships weren't built for speed. The KRYNN vessels closed in fast. Weapons fire lit up the space around them. Taeyong dodged and weaved, but he knew it was useless. They were outgunned and outnumbered. Then more ships appeared. Smaller ones. Human fighters with Haven's rest station markings. And a council diplomatic vessel. All ships stand down. Ambassador Park's voice came through clearly. The child is under Galactic Council protection. Any attack on that vessel will be considered an act of war. The Council has no authority over KRYNN ships. Captain Some Minute responded. We claim the creature by right of superior force. The space around Taeyong's ship became a battlefield. Human fighters engaged the KRYNN vessels. Energy weapons flashed in the darkness. Taeyong kept flying, trying to escape while everyone else fought. An explosion rocked his ship. One of the KRYNN vessels had landed a hit. Alarm screamed louder. The engine was damaged. Papa! Daeun screamed from the back. Taeyong unbuckled and ran to the cargo area. Smoke filled the space. Daeun and Hannah huddled together near the emergency pod. But the pod's door was jammed. They couldn't escape. Another hit. Harder this time. The ship spun violently. Taeyong grabbed both girls and held them tight. I'm scared, Hannah said. Her scales were completely white with fear. I know, sweetheart. I know. Then Hannah's eyes went wide. She pulled away from Taeyong and stood in the center of the cargo bay. Her small body began to glow. Soft at first, then brighter and brighter. Hannah, what are you doing? Protecting, she said simply. The light exploded outward from her body in a wave of pure energy. It passed through the ship's walls like they weren't there. Taeyong felt it wash over him. Warm, safe, but not harmful. On his helmet's comm unit, he heard screams from the KRYNN ships. Their systems were shutting down, their weapons going offline. The attacking vessels drifted powerless in space. But the human ships and the council vessel were unaffected. They continued operating normally. The light faded. Hannah collapsed. Taeyong caught her before she hit the floor. She was cold again, her scales dull and gray, just like when she had healed Daeun. I'm okay, she whispered. Just tired. Ambassador Park's ship pulled alongside. A docking tube extended and connected to Taeyong's damaged vessel. Armed soldiers in council uniforms came through first, securing the area. Then Park herself appeared. Mr. Kim, I think we need to talk. They sat in the council ship's conference room. Taeyong refused to leave his daughters, so Daeun and Hannah sat beside him. Hannah was wrapped in a blanket, slowly recovering her strength. Ambassador Park sat across from them. Dr. Hyunwoo was there too, looking guilty and apologetic. Several council military officers stood around the room. What Hannah just did, Park began, has been recorded and analyzed. She released an energy pulse that disabled only the KRYNN vessels. She left human ships untouched. Do you understand what that means? It means she protected us, Taeyong said. It means she's programmed, designed, built by the first civilization specifically to protect humanity. Park leaned forward. Dr. Choi has translated more of the murals. Hannah's species, the Youngura, were created as guardian for humans. Their biology, their powers, everything about them is meant to keep humanity safe. But why? Taeyong asked. Why would an ancient civilization care about humans? Hyunwoo spoke up. Because the prophecy says humanity is important. Special in some way. The murals indicate that humans will play a crucial role in stopping the Devourer when it returns. The Youngura were meant to guide and protect humans until we're ready. When does it return? This Devourer. The murals aren't clear on exact timing, but based on astronomical data, we think within the next 50 to 100 years. Park turned to look at Hannah. There's more. The KRYNN aren't the only ones who want her. We've received reports of at least 6 different factions mobilizing. Military groups, research organizations, even a religious cult that believes she signals the end of the galaxy. What are you saying? I'm saying that keeping Hannah in your custody puts her at risk. Puts you at risk. Puts Daeun at risk. Park's voice was gentler now. Mr. Kim, I know you love her. That's obvious. But love isn't enough to keep her safe from what's coming. Taeyong looked at his daughters. Daeun held Hannah's hand tightly. Both girls looked scared and small. What do you want? He asked. Let the council take custody. We have secure facilities. Resources. We can protect her while scientists work to understand her abilities. You and Daeun can live comfortably on Earth. The council will pay for everything. Education, housing, everything your daughter needs. It was the same offer as before, but now it came with evidence of how dangerous the galaxy had become. Taeyong opened his mouth to respond, but Daeun spoke first. No. Everyone turned to look at the little human girl. Hannah is my sister. We don't leave family behind. That's what Mom always said. Daeun's voice was small but determined, and Papa always keeps his promises. He promised to protect both of us. Tears ran down Taeyong's face. He looked at Ambassador Park. My daughter is right. We're family. We stay together. Even if it means living as fugitives. Always running. Always in danger. Even then. Park sat back in her chair. She was quiet for a long moment. Then something changed in her expression. Not anger. Something like respect. Then we do this a different way, she said. Dr. Choi, the mural showed other locations, didn't they? Places where more Yongrim might be sleeping. Yes. At least 3 other sites across the galaxy. Then that's where we go. If Hannah can wake others of her kind, she won't be alone. She'll have her own people. They can protect each other. Park looked at Taeyong. And you can stay with her, as her guardian and family. But you'll accept council support and protection. Deal. Taeyong looked at both his daughters. They nodded. Deal. As they left the conference room, Hannah tugged on Taeyong's sleeve. Papa, the others who are sleeping, will they be scared when they wake up? Like I was. Probably. Then we need to find them, so they can have families too, so no one has to be alone. Taeyong hugged both his daughters close. Outside the windows, stars stretched in every direction. Somewhere out there, more children waited in the darkness, waiting for someone to find them, to comfort them, to bring them home. And Taeyong knew exactly what to do. The first temple world was called Keeper's Rest. It sat at the edge of a dying star system, hidden behind clouds of cosmic dust. No one had visited it in thousands of years. The coordinates came from the murals on Endara Prime. Taeyong's ship, now repaired and upgraded by the Council, descended through the dust clouds. Ambassador Park's vessel followed close behind. They had been searching for 3 months now. 3 months of following ancient clues across the galaxy. There, Hyun-woo pointed at the main screen. Below them, a planet covered in silver structures appeared. Buildings that reflected the red light of the dying star. The temple should be at the northern pole. They landed on a platform surrounded by tall spires. Everything was silent and still. The buildings looked like they were made from metal that never aged or rusted. Hannah pressed her face against the window. Her scales rippled with excitement. I feel them. Others like me. Sleeping below. Daeun squeezed her hand. Are you scared? A little. What if they don't like me? They'll love you, Taeyong said. Just like we do. They put on environment suits and walked across the platform. The air was thin but breathable. Their boots crunched on dust that might have been lying there for millions of years. The temple entrance was a massive door covered in the same glowing symbol from the murals. When Hannah touched it, the symbols lit up bright blue. The door opened with a sound like a whisper. Inside, the temple stretched down into darkness. They descended stone steps that spiraled deeper and deeper. Their light showed walls covered in more murals. These ones showed younger children being placed in special chambers, being put to sleep to wait for the right time to wake. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a chamber filled with crystal pods. Hundreds of them. Each pod held a small figure inside. Children with scales and wings and horns. All sleeping peacefully. So many, Park whispered. There must be over 300 here. Hannah walked between the pods slowly. She touched each one gently as she passed. The crystals glowed under her fingers. They are dreaming of the time before, when everything was green and safe. Can you wake them? Hyunwoo asked. I think so. But Hannah looked worried. What happens when they wake? They'll be scared, confused. They'll need families, people to care for them. We'll figure it out, Taeyong said. We figured it out with you, didn't we? Hannah nodded. She walked to the center of the chamber and closed her eyes. Her body began to glow with that same golden light. But this time it felt different. Warmer, gentler. The light spread from her body like sunrise spreading across a world. It touched the first pod, then the next, and the next. One by one, the crystals began to open. The first child to emerge was a boy with deep blue scales. He looked around with golden eyes full of fear. He opened his mouth and made a sound, a cry for help in a language no one understood. But Hannah understood. She ran to him and spoke in that same language, words that sounded like wind chimes and thunder. The boy calmed down. Hannah held his hand. More children emerged. Some cried. Some were silent. All of them were scared and alone in a universe they didn't recognize. Hannah moved between them, speaking soft words, touching their shoulders, helping them feel safe. Taeyong watched and felt his heart grow. These children needed what Hannah had needed 6 months ago. Comfort, safety, family. Over the next weeks, they found 2 more temple worlds. Each one held more sleeping younger children. Each awakening was the same. Fear turning to hope. Confusion turning to understanding. The council worked quickly. They designated a beautiful garden world called New Haven as a sanctuary for the Yongera. Human families volunteered to become guardians, just like Taeyong had done. Scientists came to learn, but not to experiment, to understand and help. Taeyong and his daughters moved to New Haven. Their new home was bigger than their old quarters on the station. It had windows that looked out over fields of blue grass and purple trees. Daeun loved running through the gardens with the younger children, teaching them games and new words. Hannah was different now. She was still a child, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. The other younger looked to her as a leader, the first one to wake, the one who found them. One evening, Taeyong sat on the porch watching the sunset. 2 suns painted the sky orange and pink. Hannah came and sat beside him. Thank you, Papa, she said. For what? For not leaving me in that dark place. For singing to me. For making me part of your family. Hannah leaned against him. I remember now, from before the long sleep, my people created us to help humans, to protect you when the darkness comes. But I don't think they understood something important. What's that? That humans would protect us too. That you would care for us even though we're different. Even though we're strange. She looked up at him with those golden eyes. The Ancient Ones thought humans needed guardians. But maybe we need each other. A year passed. Then, too, the younger children grew and learned. Some stayed on New Haven. Others went with their human families to different worlds. Each child found their place in the galaxy. Hannah grew, too. Not just physically, but in wisdom and power. The other younger could sense it. She was special among them, the first, the one from the prophecy. When Hannah turned 10 in human years, the Galactic Council called a special session. Every species sent representatives. It was held on Earth in the Great Assembly Hall in Geneva. Taeyong stood backstage with both his daughters. Daeun was 12 now, tall and confident. Hannah stood between them, wearing a simple blue dress that matched her scales. Are you ready? Taeyong asked. I'm nervous, Hannah admitted. What if they don't listen? What if they're afraid of what I am? Then you remind them of who you are. Daeun said. You're Hannah. You're our sister. You're someone who woke up scared in a dark place, and you use that experience to help others. Ambassador Park appeared. It's time. They walked out onto the stage together. The assembly hall was massive, filled with beings from every corner of the galaxy. Thousands of eyes watched them, some curious, some suspicious, some afraid. Hannah stepped up to the podium. She looked small standing there, but when she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the hall. My name is Hannah. I am Yongera. My people were created long ago to be guardians for humanity. to protect them from a danger that is coming, a danger that will threaten all of us. The whole was silent. Everyone listened. For millions of years, we slept, waiting for the right time to wake. I woke early because I was stolen, taken from my sleeping place and put in a dark container like cargo. I was scared and alone and hurt. Hannah gestured to Taeyong. Then this human found me. He didn't know what I was. He didn't know about prophesies or ancient civilizations. He just saw a scared child who needed help. He gave me food and water. He sang to me. He made me feel safe. And then he took me home. Tears ran down Taeyong's face as Hannah continued. My people were built to protect humans. But that human protected me first. He taught me what family means, what love means. He showed me that humans don't need to be guarded like children. They need to be respected as partners. Hannah's scales glowed softly. The darkness is coming. The devourer. We've seen it in the ancient records. It will arrive in our lifetimes. My people will fight it. But we cannot fight it alone. No species can. We need to stand together. Human and Yongara. All species united. She looked directly at the Earth delegation. The Ancient Ones chose human for a reason. Not because you're weak and need protection, but because you have something special. You have the ability to care for those who are different from you, to make families from strangers, to find hope in darkness. The whole erupted in discussion. Some delegates agreed immediately. Others argued. But slowly, over hours of debate, a decision formed. The Galactic Alliance was born that day. Not just a council of governments, but a true partnership between species, with humanity and the Yongara at its heart. 10 years later, Taeyong stood in the garden of their home on New Haven. He was older now, gray hair at his temples, but his eyes were still bright. Daeun had become a teacher, working with young Yongara and human children together. She visited often with stories of her students. Hannah was 20 now, though she looked younger. She led the Yongara people with wisdom beyond her years, but she always made time to come home. Today, she sat with Taeyong watching the sunset, just like they had years ago. The long-range sensors detected something, Hannah said quietly. At the edge of the galaxy. Something dark. Something wrong. The devourer? We think so. It's still far away. We have time to prepare. Maybe 30 years. Maybe 40. Taeyong took her hand. Are you afraid? Yes, but I'm also ready. We all are. Because of what you taught me. That being afraid is okay. What matters is what you do even when you're scared. I was terrified that night in the cargo bay, Taeyong admitted. I didn't know what you were. You could have been dangerous, but you were just a child who needed help. That's all that mattered. You saved me, Hannah said. No, Taeyong smiled. You saved yourself. I just gave you a safe place to land. They sat together as the sun set and the stars came out. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Yongara and humans and all the other species prepared for the darkness to come. Building ships, training warriors, creating weapons. But here, in this quiet garden, a father and daughter watched the stars in peace. Two very different beings who had become family, who had taught the galaxy that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the simplest act. The act of comforting a scared child in the dark. The act of refusing to leave family behind. The act of choosing love over fear. And that, in the end, would make all the difference.